A millionaire comes home early unannounced and is stunned by what he finds a housekeeper doing with his triplets. James Carter adjusted his tie for the third time that morning, studying his reflection in the master bathroom mirror. His hazel eyes betrayed the exhaustion of another sleepless night. At 48, he had built a real estate empire in Miami, but professional success couldn't fill the void left when his wife, Emily, died in a car crash 4 years ago. A crash from downstairs snapped him out of his thoughts. James sighed deeply, knowing his triplets were testing yet another nanny. Ethan, Lily, and Noah, his 8-year-old kids, had become little terrors since their mother's death. Each new nanny lasted only weeks before quitting, claiming the kids were impossible. Descending the marble staircase of his Coconut Grove mansion, James found shards of a broken vase in the foyer. The latest nanny, a middle-aged woman named Margaret, was red-faced with anger, trying to get the three to apologize. Ethan, the boldest of the triplets, crossed his arms and glared defiantly. "We didn't break it," he lied blatantly. "I saw you push the vase off the table." Margaret snapped, losing patience. Lily started wailing dramatically, a tactic she used to stir chaos. Noah, the quietest, stood behind his brother, but James caught a sly smirk on his face. "What's going on here?" James asked, stepping off the last stair. Margaret turned to him with relief. "Mr. Carter, we need to talk. I can't work with these kids anymore. They respect nothing." James glanced at his children, who now looked like perfect angels. "Margaret, can we talk in my office?" 15 minutes later, another nanny quit. James offered a raise, better hours, but Margaret was done. She left the mansion with her bags, the 12th caregiver to abandon the triplets in 2 years. Alone in his office, James called the nanny agency again. The receptionist, Sarah Thompson, recognized his voice. "Mr. Carter, I'll be honest," she said over the phone. "Your kids have a reputation at our agency. Many of our nannies refuse to work at your house. What do you suggest?" James asked, rubbing his temples. "Maybe it's time to consider boarding school or intensive therapy for the kids," Sarah said cautiously. James hung up without a reply. He wouldn't send his kids away. Despite everything, they were all he had left of Emily. That same morning, across Miami, Linda Harper finished tidying her modest apartment in Coral Gables, where she lived with her daughter, Zoe. At 40, Linda worked as a housekeeper in multiple homes to pay the bills and keep Zoe, 18, in school. "Mom, you working at that big house today?" Zoe asked, packing her backpack. "Yeah, honey, the cleaning company landed a good contract there," Linda replied, stowing cleaning supplies in her bag. Zoe grimaced. "Bet it's full of rich, snobby people." "Zoe, don't talk like that. Honest work is nothing to be ashamed of," Linda said gently. Zoe kissed her mom's forehead before heading to school. Linda watched her through the window, proud of the bright daughter she was raising alone. Since losing her husband in a construction accident 6 years ago, she'd done everything to give Zoe a decent life. An hour later, Linda stood before the imposing gate of the Carter mansion. The house was stunning, with manicured gardens and modern architecture she'd only seen in magazines. The gatekeeper, a friendly man named Mike, greeted her. "You must be the new housekeeper," Mike said, opening the gate. "I'm Mike. Been here 12 years. "Nice to meet you, Mike. I'm Linda." Mike led her to the back entrance. "Just a heads up, Ms. Linda. The kids here are a bit tough. Best keep your distance." Linda nodded, intrigued by the warning. Meeting the cook, Mrs. Betty, a 65-year-old who'd worked there for 7 years, she learned more about the family. "Poor kids," Betty sighed, preparing lunch. "Lost their moms so young, and their dads always working. Work, work, work. What about the nannies?" Linda asked, starting to clean the kitchen. Betty shook her head. "They don't last. The kids do things that make me feel sorry for those women. But it's not meanness, it's grief." During her first week, Linda observed the triplets from afar. They were indeed difficult, breaking things, yelling for no reason, and defying every adult. But Linda saw something others missed. In quiet moments, when they thought no one was watching, the kids looked lost and sad. Ethan, the ringleader, had sharp, angry eyes. Lily's tears seemed born of frustration, not tantrums. Noah hid from adults, retreating inward. In her second week, Linda cleaned upstairs near the kids' rooms. She found the three playing in the hallway with broken toy cars and ball dolls. When they saw her, Ethan stood defensively. "You can't touch our toys," he said, arms crossed. "I'm not touching anything," Linda said calmly, wiping the floor. "Just cleaning." Lily looked at her curiously. "Are you the new nanny?" "No, I'm the housekeeper. I clean the house." Noah whispered to Ethan, who translated, "He wants to know if you'll yell at us." Linda stopped cleaning and knelt to their level. "Why would I yell at you?" Ethan seemed surprised. "Because everyone yells?" "The nannies yell. Dad yells when he gets home." "Well, I don't usually yell," Linda said, resuming her work. The kids watched her clean for a few minutes. Linda hummed a lullaby she used to sing to Zoe as a child. Lily edged closer. "What's that song?" "A lullaby my daughter loved when she was little like you." "You have a daughter?" Ethan asked, curious despite his tough act. "Yep, Zoe's 18 now, but she loved the song when she was small." Noah whispered Ethan again, who asked, "Does your daughter throw tantrums too?" Linda smiled. "Sometimes. All kids do when they're sad or mad about something." From that day, whenever Linda worked upstairs, the kids lingered nearby. They didn't talk much, but watched her work and listened to her humming. She never forced closeness, just did her job. The first big test came in her third week. Ethan tripped while running in the hallway, scraping his knee on the marble floor. He cried, but when Betty tried to help, he screamed for no one to touch him. Linda heard the commotion and found Ethan on the floor, bleeding and refusing help. She approached slowly. "Can I take a look?" she asked softly. Ethan, tears in his eyes, nodded. Linda checked the wound carefully. "Just a scrape, but we need to clean it to avoid infection. I'll grab the first aid kit." She returned and tended to his knee. Ethan winced as she applied antiseptic, but didn't push her away. "There, just a bandage," Linda said, placing a colorful Band-Aid on his knee. "Good as new in a few days." Ethan looked at the bandage, then at her. "Thanks," he mumbled. Lily and Noah, watching from a distance, crept closer to see their brother's bandage. It was the first moment of calm Linda had seen between the kids and an adult since starting. That same week, James hired a new nanny through a premium agency. Susan Parker, 55, had a degree in education and stellar references, exactly the professional he thought his kids needed. Firm, experienced, no nonsense. Susan arrived Monday morning, impeccably dressed, carrying a binder of schedules and rules. James introduced her to the kids in the living room. "Kids, this is Ms. Susan. She'll be taking care of you from now on," he announced. Susan eyed the triplets like a general inspecting troops. "All right, children, let's be clear from the start. I don't tolerate disobedience, tantrums, or rudeness. Misbehave and you'll face consequences." Ethan exchanged a glance with his siblings. They were used to nannies who tried to befriend them first. This one was different, but not in a good way. James seemed pleased with Susan's firmness. "Perfect. I have a meeting. Call me if there's an issue." Once James left, Susan showed her true colors. She imposed a military-style routine: breakfast at 7 sharp, 1 hour of study, 1 hour of exercise, silent lunch, more study, dinner at 6, bed at 8. Any deviation meant punishment. On the first day, Lily refused to eat broccoli at lunch. Susan removed her entire plate. "If you don't eat what's served, you eat nothing," she said coldly. Lily cried, but Susan was unmoved. Crying won't help. Learn to behave or go hungry. Ethan tried to share his food with Lily, but Susan stopped him. Each child eats their portion. Sharing doesn't teach discipline. When Noah struggled with a math problem that afternoon, Susan snapped. "How can you be so dumb? It's simple addition." Noah cried quietly, which only annoyed her more. "Stop crying like a baby. Boys don't cry." Linda, cleaning upstairs, heard Susan's shouts. She crept downstairs and peeked through the study room's cracked door, seeing Noah hunched in his chair as Susan berated him. Her maternal instincts surged, but she held back. It wasn't her place to interfere. Things worsened over the days. Susan's punishments included taking away toys, desserts, and, in extreme cases, locking the kids in their rooms. When Ethan accidentally broke a pencil during an activity, she locked him in a dark room as punishment. "Stay there until you learn to respect property," Susan said, turning the key. Ethan banged on the door for minutes, yelling to be let out, then went silent. Lily and Noah were terrified, knowing any protest could mean the same fate. Linda, working in the hallway, overheard. She approached the door and whispered, "Ethan, you okay, honey?" His muffled voice replied, "I'm scared of the dark." "She can't do this to you," Linda said, testing the lock knob. "Don't do anything, Ms. Linda. If she knows you talk to me, it'll be worse." Linda was torn between breaking the door down and keeping her job. If she got fired, Zoe's education would suffer. But hearing that scared child broke her heart. 2 hours later, Susan let Ethan out. He emerged pale and trembling, running to his siblings without a word. That night, Linda heard Lily cry in the next room. She peeked through the cracked door and saw the girl awake, clearly having nightmares. Linda stepped inside. "Lily, you okay?" The girl's red eyes met hers. "Ms. Linda, I'm scared of Miss Susan." "Why, sweetie?" "She said if I don't stop having nightmares, she'll give me medicine to sleep forever." Linda's blood boiled. She sat on the bed and sang the lullaby the kids knew. Lily calmed and fell asleep. The breaking point came the next week. Susan, frustrated by the kids' resistance, grew harsher. She began muttering about medicating them to calm them down. "These kids are too hyper," she said to herself, browsing sedatives online. "A small dose of cough syrup with codeine will make them behave." Linda overheard Susan on the phone, discussing getting medicine without a prescription. Alarmed, she didn't know how to act. Accusing Susan without proof could make her look like a jealous housekeeper stirring trouble. Her decision was made the following Thursday. Susan had gone to the pharmacy, and Linda, cleaning the living room, found the triplets hiding behind the couch, whispering. "What are you doing there?" she asked. Ethan looked desperate. "Ms. Linda, Ms. Susan said she'll give us medicine to make us quiet forever. We don't want it." Lily sobbed. "She said if we don't obey, she'll give us so much medicine we'll sleep and never wake up." Noah, rarely speaking, whispered, "Like Mommy." Linda's heart sank. The kids thought Susan would kill them with medicine, like their mother's accident. She knelt and hugged them. "No one's giving you medicine without your dad's permission," she said firmly. "I promise." "But we're scared to tell Dad," Ethan admitted. "He never believes us." Linda thought fast. She couldn't let Susan drug the kids, but had no authority to stop her. When Susan returned with a bag of medicine, Linda acted. "Miss Susan, can we talk?" she said, intercepting her in the kitchen. Susan glared. "What do you want, housekeeper?" "I'm busy." "I heard you talking about giving the kids medicine. That's not allowed without a prescription." Susan's face reddened. "How dare you question me? You're just a maid." "I'm a maid, yes, but I'm also a mother, and I won't let anyone hurt those kids." Susan stepped closer, menacing. "Listen, you meddler, you're nothing here. If you tell Mr. Carter, I'll say you suggested medicating the kids. Who will he believe, a trained nanny or an ignorant maid?" Linda stood her ground. "Do what you want of me, but don't touch those kids." "You're fired." Susan snapped. "Pack your things and leave." The argument heated up when 3 small voices shouted, "No!" Ethan, Lily, and Noah appeared at the kitchen door, having overheard. Ethan stepped in front of Linda. "Ms. Linda didn't do anything wrong. You're the mean one." Lily joined him. "You locked Ethan in the dark. You said you'd give us medicine to make us die." Noah, summoning all his courage, yelled, "We don't like you. We want Ms. Linda." Susan was stunned. The kids she'd terrorized were defending the housekeeper. Her authority was crumbling, challenged by 8-year-olds, and it enraged her. "You spoiled, rude brats," she shouted. "I'll tell your father you're uncontrollable." "Go ahead," Ethan said, with courage that surprised even himself. "But we'll tell the truth about you." At that moment, James walked in through the back door. He'd come home early to grab forgotten documents. Hearing Ray's voices, he paused to listen. Through the cracked kitchen door, he saw a scene that left him speechless. His 3 kids, who'd been hostile to every adult for years, were defending the housekeeper against the nanny he'd hired. "Susan, what's happening here?" James asked, stepping into the kitchen. Susan switched to a victimized tone. "Mr. Carter, thank goodness you're here. This maid was interfering with my work and turning the kids against me." James looked at Linda, who stood protectively with the triplets. "Is that true, Linda?" Linda took a deep breath, knowing her word against a trained nannies held little weight. "Mr. Carter, I only questioned MS. Susan about giving the kids medicine without a prescription." "What medicine?" James asked, frowning. Susan tried to deflect. "Just natural calmatives for their hyperactivity. No big deal." Ethan stepped forward. "Dad, she said she'd give us medicine to make us quiet forever like Mommy." James's heart clenched. Noah approached him, something he hadn't done in months. "Dad, Miss Susan's mean. She locked Ethan in a dark room and wouldn't let Lily eat." Lily nodded vigorously. "And she yells at us all the time." James looked at Susan, who stammered excuses, but his attention shifted. After neighborhood burglaries, he'd installed security cameras. If the kids were telling the truth, it would be recorded. "Susan, come to my office," he said calmly. "Kids, stay with Linda." In the office, James reviewed the footage. What he saw sickened him. Hours of recording showed Susan yelling, locking Ethan in a room, denying Lily food, and humiliating Noah. He saw Linda comforting the kids whenever possible, singing to Lily during nightmares, and tending to Ethan's scraped knee. "Susan," James said, barely containing his rage, "you're fired. Leave my house now." "Mr. Carter, I can explain." "No explanation for what I saw," he cut her off. "Leave, or I'll call the police for child mistreatment." Susan left 20 minutes later, muttering empty threats. James returned to the kitchen and found a scene that moved him deeply. Linda sat at the table with his 3 kids, helping Noah draw while Ethan and Lily chattered about school. It was the first time in 4 years he'd seen them relaxed and happy with an adult. The kids ran to hug him, eager to show their drawings. "Dad, look what I drew." Lily said, holding up a family picture, "This is Miss Linda." The drawing showed 5 figures holding hands. James, Ethan, Lily, Noah, and Linda, labeled as her. James's throat tightened, realizing his kid saw Linda as family. "Linda," he said after the kid went to play, "we need to talk." Linda tensed, fearing she'd be fired for interfering. "Mr. Carter, I know it wasn't my place to get involved, but you saved my kids." James interrupted. "I saw everything on the cameras. I saw how that woman treated them and how you protected them." Linda was stunned. "You have cameras?" "Installed after some break-ins nearby. Never thought they'd catch this." James paused. "Linda, I have a proposal. I want you to be the kids' official nanny. I'll pay 10 times your housekeeper salary, plus benefits." Linda was floored. "Mr. Carter, I don't have a degree in education." "You have something better," James said. "My kids love you. And from the footage, you understand them better than any professional we've had." The triplets appeared at the kitchen door, overhearing. "Ms. Linda, you'll stay with us?" Ethan asked hopefully. "Forever," Lily added. Noah looked at her, eyes shining with hope. Linda glanced at their eager faces, then at James. "I need to talk to my daughter first." "Of course," James said, "but I hope you'll say yes. It's the first time in years I've seen my kids truly happy." That night, Linda returned home, her mind racing. Zoe was doing homework at the kitchen table. "How was work, Mom?" she asked, looking up. "Zoe, I need to talk about something big," Linda said, sitting beside her. She explained James's offer and the salary. Zoe listened quietly, but Linda noticed an odd look on her face. "So, you'll be taking care of some rich guy's kids?" Zoe asked, her tone hard to read. "Zoe, this money could change our lives. You could take college prep courses. I could stop working multiple jobs. And you'll spend more time at their house than with me." Zoe cut in. Linda saw her daughter's insecurity. Zoe, nothing will change how much I love you. It will, Mom. You'll get attached to those rich kids and forget about me. The talk grew tense, with Zoe locking herself in her room, refusing dinner. Linda stayed up all night, torn between a life-changing opportunity and fear of hurting her daughter. The next morning, she called James and accepted the offer but set conditions. Fixed hours to be home at night, weekends off to spend with Zoe, and the chance to bring Zoe to meet the kids. James agreed without hesitation. Linda, you're giving me my kids back. Whatever you need, we'll make it work. Word of James's decision reached his sister, Rebecca Carter, a 45-year-old successful therapist in Fort Lauderdale. Rebecca had always disapproved of her younger brother's choices, and this was the final straw. James, have you lost your mind? She said over the phone. Hiring an untrained housekeeper to raise your kids? What would Emily think? Don't bring Emily into this, James replied coldly. It's about Emily. She wanted the best of those kids, quality education, trained professionals, not some random maid. Linda's not some random maid. She's done in weeks what no professional could in years. Rebecca wasn't convinced. James, you're mistaking gratitude for love. This woman stopped a bad nanny, and now you think she's the answer to everything. The call ended badly, with James hanging up, but Rebecca wouldn't let it go. Believing James was making a terrible mistake, she hired a private investigator to dig into Linda's past. She also spread rumors among James's wealthy friends. Did you hear James hired a housekeeper to raise his kids? She'd say at social dinners. The poor man never recovered from Emily's death. He's clearly having a breakdown. The gossip spread fast in Miami's elite circles. James's colleagues questioned his mental stability. Some key clients raised concerns about doing business with someone making irrational decisions. Meanwhile, Linda began her role as the triplets' nanny. The transition was tougher than expected. Use of conflict. The kids took weeks to adjust to a stable, loving routine. Ethan, the rebellious leader, tested Linda early on by smashing a vase in the living room to see if she'd yell. Linda sighed, grabbed a broom, and started sweeping. You're not going to punish me? Ethan asked, confused. Why would I? Linda replied, cleaning up. Accidents happen. It wasn't an accident, Ethan admitted. I broke it on purpose. Linda stopped and looked at him. Why'd you do that? Ethan lowered his head. Because you'll leave anyway, like everyone else. So you might as well leave now. Linda knelt to his level. Ethan, look at me. I'm not leaving. I promise. They all say that, Ethan muttered. But I'm different, Linda said softly. Know why? Because I chose to stay. I love you three. Lily, eavesdropping behind a chair, stepped out. You really love us? I do, sweetie. Noah crept closer and whispered. Nobody said they loved us since Mommy left. Linda's heart ached. She opened her arms, and the three ran to hug her. The first group hug they'd given anyone since Emily's death. From that moment, the house's dynamic shifted. Linda set a gentle but consistent routine. Breakfast at 8 with chats about last night's dreams. Morning crafts like drawing or clay. Lunch at 12:30 with a dish each kid liked. Quiet time after lunch. Outdoor play when weather allowed. Dinner at 6. Then bath and bedtime stories. James noticed the changes. He started coming home earlier, drawn by laughter from the living room. One Thursday, he arrived early to grab documents and watched quietly from the back door. Through the cracked living room door, he saw a scene that stopped him cold. Linda sat on the rug, surrounded by the triplets, playing with colorful clay. Each kid was crafting their own figures. Ethan focused on a superhero. Lily made a family with a mom, dad, and 3 kids. Noah, the shy one, sculpted animals. Let's make a story with these, Linda said, arranging their creations. My superhero protects Lily's family, Ethan said, placing his figure near his sister's. Lily smiled. Noah's animals can be our pets. Noah, rarely speaking unprompted, said clearly, the elephant's a dad of the animals and takes care of everyone, like Dad takes care of us. Tears welled in James's eyes. It was the first time in 4 years Noah had spoken positively about him, and the kids were collaborating, not fighting. Ms. Linda, Lily said, Tell the story about the princess who took care of 3 little dragons. Oh, you love that one. Once upon a time, a princess lived in a castle with 3 scared dragons. James listened as Linda spun a tale about a brave princess teaching 3 frightened dragons to be kind and courageous, a clear metaphor for their situation. The kids were captivated. When the story ended, Ethan asked, "Ms. Linda, do you think the Dragon King will come back to the castle?" "I think he never left," Linda said wisely. Sometimes kings get busy in their offices and forget to visit the fun parts of the castle. Noah glanced at the door where James hid. "Dad, you can come in. We know you're there." James flushed caught. He stepped inside, and the kids ran to hug him, a rarity. "Dad, look what we made," Lily said, showing her clay family. Ms. Linda is the fairy godmother. James studied their creations, then looked at Linda. "Sorry for eavesdropping." "No need to apologize," Linda smiled. "The kids love when you come home early." "Dad, will you play with us?" Ethan asked hopefully. James checked his watch. He had 2 big meetings, but seeing his kids' eager faces, he decided, "Sure, teach me how to make those figures." For the next hour, James played with his kids for the first time in years. Linda stepped back to give them space, but the kids insisted she stay. "Ms. Linda's part of the game," Lily said. "She's our fairy godmother." James watched how naturally Linda included everyone, knowing when to step in or let them figure things out. It was a gift no degree could teach. When he finally left for his meetings, he felt guilty leaving that peaceful scene. Looking back, he saw Linda helping the kids pack up the clay, humming softly. It was the image of a mother caring for her children, a sight absent from his home for years. That night, James joined the kids for dinner, a first in months. They were thrilled. "Dad, you're eating with us?" Lily shouted, hugging him. Over dinner, James heard about their day, games, lessons, a bird Noah saw in the garden. "The kids are so much more talkative," he told Linda after they went for baths. "They just needed someone to listen," Linda said. "Kids have a lot to say when they feel safe." James nodded and asked, "Linda, how'd you do it?" Dozens of professionals tried and couldn't even get them to behave. Linda thought for a moment. "I didn't try to change them, Mr. Carter. I just try to understand them. They're not bad kids. They're sad. And sadness heals with love, not punishment." Her words stuck with James. He began watching Linda closely, noting how she handled tough moments. When Ethan threw a tantrum, she didn't yell. She knelt and asked what he felt. When Lily cried, she didn't tell her to stop, but asked why she was sad. When Noah withdrew, she stayed nearby, available but not pushy. The results were clear. Tantrums dropped, Lily's nightmares faded, and Noah started speaking up. For the first time since Emily's death, the house was filled with joy. But not everything was perfect. Zoe struggled with the new setup. When Linda came home at night, Zoe was distant. "How was your day, honey?" Linda asked nightly. "Fine," Zoe replied curtly, avoiding talk. It worsened when Zoe's classmates learned her mom worked for a rich family. The taunts began. "Your mom's a nanny for rich kids?" sneered a jealous peer, Clara. "Bet she's eyeing the dad," added another, Sophia. Maids always go after rich widowers. Zoe came home furious. When Linda tried to talk, Zoe exploded. "Everyone at school says you're using a rich guy," she shouted. "They say you want to marry him for money." Linda was stunned. "Zoe, that's not true. I'm just doing my job, caring for 3 kids who need it." "But you love them more than me," Zoe cried. "You spend all day with them, playing, caring. When you get home, you're too tired for me." The accusation hit Linda hard. She was exhausted after long days with the triplets, sometimes too drained to give Zoe the attention she deserved. "Zoe, you're my daughter. Nothing will change that." "Then why'd you choose them?" Zoe sobbed. "Why not a normal job, away from rich kids?" Linda hugged her, feeling the weight of her dual responsibilities. She had to care for 3 traumatized kids, but couldn't neglect her insecure daughter. Meanwhile, social pressure on James grew. Rebecca's rumors had sown doubt among his colleagues. At a business meeting, a key investor, Robert King, made a jab. "James, I heard you hired a maid to raise your kids." "True. I hired a highly capable caregiver," James said carefully. "But no formal training, right?" Robert pressed. "As your partners, we're worried about your decisions. First, you shut down after Emily's death. Now this." The meeting stayed tense, with James realizing his professional reputation was at risk over personal choices. That week, James took Linda and the kids to a charity event at a Miami Beach country club to show confidence in his decision and introduce Linda to his circle. It was a social disaster. From the moment they arrived, James noticed judgmental stares and whispers. Elite mothers size up Linda's simple clothes and humble background. "James, is your new employee?" asked Patricia Evans, a sharp-tongued socialite. "This is Linda, who cares for my kids," James said firmly. Patricia smirked. "How interesting. Where do you study childcare, dear?" Linda, uncomfortable, answered honestly, "I don't have a childcare degree, ma'am. I learned raising my daughter." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Patricia exchanged a smug look with other mothers. "How practical," she said with barely veiled sarcasm. "James, you're always so creative with your choices." Linda felt scrutinized and judged. The kids, sensing the hostility, clung to her. Ethan whispered, "Why are they staring meanly at us?" Things worsened when Lily spilled juice on her dress during a snack. Several mothers muttered about poor supervision and ill-mannered kids. Linda felt humiliated, wondering if Rebecca was right. Maybe she wasn't fit to raise elite children. The final blow came Monday when Zoe faced taunts at school. Photos from the charity event hit social media, and some parents recognized Linda. "Look, Zoe's mom's dating her rich boss," a boy jeered at recess. "Maid's daughter thinks she's hot stuff." Zoe came home crying and furious. "Mom, I can't take it. Everyone's talking about you and that rich guy." "Zoe, there's nothing between me and Mr. Carter," Linda said wearily. "But everyone thinks there is, and I'm the maid's daughter who wants to marry her boss," Zoe sobbed. Linda felt her world crumbling. She loved her job and the triplets, but her daughter was suffering because of it. The crisis peaked when Noah got sick. A simple cough turned into high fever and breathing trouble. James rushed him to Miami Children's Hospital, where he was diagnosed with pneumonia. For 3 days, Linda barely left Noah's side, sleeping in a chair, helping nurses and calming him when he got agitated. James watched her dedication, feeling grateful yet guilty. Grateful for someone who loved his kids so much. Guilty for feeling useless during his son's illness. "Ms. Linda, you won't leave?" Noah asked whenever he woke. "I'm right here, buddy," Linda replied, holding his hand. Ethan and Lily visited daily, clinging to Linda, scared of losing another loved one. "Ms. Linda, will Noah be okay?" Lily asked, teary-eyed. "He will, sweetie. The doctors are great, and Noah's strong." During those tough days, James saw Linda's strength. She not only cared for Noah, but kept Ethan and Lily calm, managed the household, and still called Zoe nightly. On the 3rd day, when Noah showed improvement, he held Linda's hand and said, "Ms. Linda, you're like Mommy. You take care of us when we're sick." Linda's eyes welled up. "Your mommy loved you so much, Noah, and I love you too." James, present, was deeply moved. It was the first time Noah compared anyone to Emily, showing how much Linda meant to him. When Noah was discharged, the family dynamic had shifted. The kids were even more attached to Linda, and James saw how vital she was to their emotional health. But Rebecca hadn't given up her mission to oust Linda. When social tactics failed, she turned drastic, hiring someone to plant valuable items in Linda's bag to frame her as a thief and force James to fire her. The plot was uncovered by chance. Mike, the gatekeeper, spotted a strange man near the house during Linda's shift. Suspicious, he noted the car's license plate and investigated. The man was a private investigator hired by Rebecca. Mike, fond of Linda, told James everything. "Mr. Carter, I need to talk about something serious," Mike said in James's office. "Your sister hired someone to investigate Linda." James was livid. He confronted Rebecca that day. "How could you do this?" he shouted over the phone. "Linda saved my kids, and you're trying to ruin her." "I'm trying to save you and those kids," Rebecca shot back. "You're blind, James. That woman's manipulating you." "The only manipulator here is you," James said coldly. "If I find out you hurt Linda or my kids again, you're no longer my sister." Rebecca was shocked by his tone, but doubled down. She went all in, forging evidence of Linda's stealing. She got a house key from a locksmith who'd worked with the family years ago, snuck in during a weekend when no one was home, and hid Emily's jewelry in Linda's bag, left in the kitchen cupboard. Monday, Rebecca called James, feigning concern. "James, I got an anonymous tip that one of your employees is stealing. You should check." James doubted it, but, pressed by Rebecca, investigated. He found Emily's jewelry missing. His heart sank. He checked the security footage, but that week's recordings were corrupted. Rebecca's doing via a shady technician. With the jewelry gone and no footage, James faced a nightmare. He didn't want to believe Linda stole, but the evidence seemed clear. Tuesday morning, he asked to speak with her in his office after the kids left for school. "Linda, I need to ask something, and I need you to be honest," he said tensely. "Of course, Mr. Carter. What's wrong?" "Some of Emily's jewelry is missing. Do you know anything about it?" Linda was floored. "Missing? I never touched the family's personal things." James sighed. "Linda, I need to check your bag." The accusation hit like a punch. After months of caring for his kids like her own, he thought she was a thief. "Mr. Carter, if you think I'd steal, check my bag, my things, my whole house," she said, voice shaking. "But no, this is breaking my heart." James checked her bag and found Emily's jewelry wrapped in a scarf. He was devastated. "Linda, why?" he asked, voice cracking. Linda stared at the jewelry, bewildered. "Mr. Carter, I swear on my daughter's life, I don't know how that got there. Someone planted it." "Who would do that? And why?" "I don't know, but I'm not a thief," Linda said, tears falling. "You know my character. How can I prove I'm innocent?" James wanted to believe her, but the evidence was damning. The talk was cut short when the kids burst in from school, running to hug Linda as usual. They froze, seeing her tears and James's anger. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked, blunt as ever. James didn't know how to explain to 8-year-olds that their beloved caregiver was accused of theft. "Dad, why is Ms. Linda crying?" Lily asked, hugging her protectively. Noah, quiet in tense moments, spoke up. "Ms. Linda didn't do anything wrong. She's good." Ethan glared at his dad. "If you made Ms. Linda cry, we don't like you anymore." The kid's reaction hit James hard. Firing Linda would shatter not just her life, but his kids' emotional stability. "Kids, go to your rooms. I need to talk to Linda," he said. "No, Ms. Linda stays with us," Lily shouted, clinging tighter. Ethan stood in front of her like a tiny bodyguard. "You can't make her leave." Noah, eyes teary, whispered, "Don't let Ms. Linda go away like Mommy did." The comparison to Emily's death gutted James. To the kids, losing Linda was like losing their mom again. Then his phone rang. It was Rebecca. "I heard you found the theft. Hope you handled it." Something in her smug tone sparked suspicion. "How'd you know I found anything?" Rebecca faltered. "Well, you said you'd investigate." "I didn't say when or what I found," James said slowly. Rebecca realized she'd slipped. "James, you're misreading this." "Rebecca," he snapped, voice icy. "What did you do?" The confrontation forced Rebecca to confess, scared of legal fallout. She admitted planting the jewelry. "I did it for you," she cried. "That woman's ruining our family. She doesn't belong in our world." James was speechless. His own sister had framed an innocent woman who brought love and peace to his home. "Rebecca, you hurt a good person and nearly destroyed my kid's happiness. I'm done with you." He hung up and returned to the living room, where Linda stood with the triplets. He approached slowly. "Linda, I owe you an apology," he said, voice breaking. My sister planted the jewelry. You're innocent. Linda felt relief, but also pain. Mr. Carter, how could you think I'd do that after everything we've been through? I was confused. The evidence seemed clear. There's no excuse. I can only beg your forgiveness and hope you'll give me another chance to trust you. The kids, not fully grasping the situation, knew Linda had been wronged and cleared. Was Dad unfair to Ms. Linda? Ethan asked. Yes, son. Dad made a big mistake. Lily looked at Linda, worried. Ms. Linda, are you leaving because of what Dad did? Linda looked at their anxious faces, then at James. Despite the hurt, she knew the kids needed her, and she understood James had been manipulated by someone he trusted. I'm not leaving, she said finally. But we need to talk about trust, Mr. Carter. In the days that followed, James worked hard to regain Linda's trust. He raised her salary, gave her more autonomy with the kids, and showed he valued her judgment. Things with Rebecca stayed tense. James refused her calls despite her apologies. Rebecca realized she'd gone too far, nearly destroying her brother's family. Meanwhile, Zoe began to see things differently. Learning how her mom suffered from a false accusation, she saw how much the triplets valued Linda. Their defense of her showed genuine love. Mom, Zoe said one night, can I meet the kids you take care of? Linda was surprised. You sure, honey? Yeah. If they matter to you, I want to know them. The first meeting was carefully planned. Linda brought Zoe to the Carter mansion on a Saturday, with James present. The triplets were shy at first, knowing Zoe was Linda's daughter, but unsure how to act with an older girl. So, you're the famous triplets, Zoe said, breaking the ice. My mom talks about you all the time. Your mom's the best caregiver ever, Lily said earnestly. She sings to us when we have nightmares. Ethan studied Zoe. You don't like us, do you? Zoe was taken aback by his insight. Why'd you say that? Because when Ms. Linda talks about you, she gets sad, and you never came here before. Zoe realized she'd been unfair. Her insecurities had blinded her to the kids' innocence. You're right. I was jealous. Thinking you'd take my mom from me, she admitted. Noah approached timidly. We don't want to take your mom. We just want her here, too. Lily nodded. It's like having two homes. Ms. Linda's your mom at your house, and our Ms. Linda here. The kid's simplicity touched Zoe. She created a problem where none existed. They didn't want to replace her. They wanted to include her. Want to teach me how to play with clay? Zoe asked, charmed by the triplets. For hours, Zoe played with them, helping Lily make a clay doll, teaching Ethan some Spanish from school, and listening to Noah's animal stories. James watched from afar, impressed by how quickly Zoe bonded with the kids. She had her mom's natural way with them. Zoe seems like the kids, he told Linda as they made snacks. She's always been great with little ones, Linda said. She was just insecure about our situation here. And now, Linda smiled, watching the foreplay. I think she gets that love doesn't shrink when shared. It grows. That afternoon marked a new family dynamic. Zoe started visiting regularly, first weekends, then some weekdays. The triplets adored her. Ethan loved discussing books with her. Lily saw her as the big sister she always wanted. Noah opened up completely, sharing his deepest thoughts. For Zoe, the triplets became a source of joy and purpose. She helped with their homework, took them to a nearby park, and even stayed over when Linda worked late. James admired Linda and Zoe's natural caregiving, seeing Zoe had inherited her mom's gift. During this time, James reflected on his own parenting. Linda's impact on his kids made him question his approach. He'd use work to escape Emily's loss, neglecting his kids' emotional needs. Inspired by Linda, he started joining them for dinner nightly, reading bedtime stories, playing on weekends, and talking about their feelings. One night at dinner, Ethan asked, Dad, why'd you stop playing with us after Mom died? The blunt question caught James off guard. He looked around, Ethan awaiting an honest answer, Lily and Noah listening, Linda and Zoe watching quietly. Son, when Mom died, I was so sad I didn't know how to handle my pain and take care of you, so I hid in work. We were sad too, Lily said softly. But we didn't have anywhere to hide. James's throat tightened. You're right. Dad messed up big. I should have been there for you, instead of hiding. Noah, listening closely, said, but now you're taking care of us again like Mom did. And Ms. Linda helped, Ethan added. She taught you how to be dad again. James looked at Linda, who was moved. It was true. She not only cared for his kids, but taught him to be a father again. That night, after the kids slept, James and Linda had a pivotal talk. Linda, can I ask something personal? He said, tidying toys in the living room. Sure. Have you thought about remarrying? Linda paused. Why do you ask? James hesitated. Over months, his feelings for Linda had grown beyond professional gratitude. He'd fallen for the woman who brought life back to his home, taught his kids to smile, and helped him be a better dad. Because I've fallen in love with you, he said simply. Linda was silent, wrestling with her own feelings for James, but fearing their different worlds. Mr. Carter, James, she corrected herself. We're from such different places. You're a successful businessman. I'm a housekeeper turned nanny. People will say I'm using you. Do you care what people say? James asked. Linda thought of Zoe's school taunts, the club's snide remarks. Not for me, but for Zoe and the kids. They don't deserve the judgment. James stepped closer. Linda, you gave me my kids back and taught me to love again. I don't care about money, status, or gossip. I care about you, Zoe, and my kids. What if it doesn't work? What if our differences are too big? What if it does work? James countered. What if we build a family we all need? Linda looked around the room where she'd spent so many happy afternoons with the kids. She thought of Zoe bonding with them, the triplets thriving, James becoming a devoted dad. I need time to think, she said finally. I've got all the time in the world, James replied. The next weeks carried a subtle tension between them. They kept their feelings from affecting the kids, but both were grappling with the idea of romance. Zoe noticed first. Mom, you like Mr. Carter, don't you? She asked one night alone. Linda was startled. Why do you say that? You guys keep sneaking looks when you think no one's watching, and he smiles different when you're around. Linda sighed. What do you think about that? Zoe considered. I think he's a good man who loves you and the kids, and I think you deserve to be happy. Zoe's approval meant the world, but Linda still faced challenges. Rebecca, after weeks of silence, reached out to apologize. James, I know I mess up big, she said when she finally got him to meet. I did it because I love you and the kids. Love doesn't justify nearly ruining an innocent person's life, James said coldly. You're right. Linda's a good woman, and I was wrong about her. Rebecca paused. Can I meet her properly? Make amends. James considered. Despite everything, Rebecca was his only sister, and he didn't want to cut ties completely. I'll talk to Linda, but if you hurt her again, we're done. The meeting was carefully arranged, with James and the kids present. Rebecca arrived nervous but humbled, having started therapy after a friend's suggestion. Linda, she said, I'm here to apologize for what I did. There's no excuse. Linda was polite but reserved. Thank you for apologizing. I know my words don't undo the harm, but I see how important you are to my family. Rebecca watched Linda with the kids, James with his children and their family dynamic. She finally understood what James had tried to explain. Linda was an opportunist, but a woman who genuinely loved them. Ethan, can I talk to you? Rebecca asked her nephew. Ethan, blunt as ever, said, You're the aunt who was mean to Ms. Linda? Rebecca flushed. Yes, that was me. I'm here to say sorry. Why were you mean? She just takes care of us. I was scared you wouldn't love me anymore if you loved her. Ethan thought about it. But we can love everyone. Loving Ms. Linda didn't make us love Dad less. The child's simple wisdom hit Rebecca hard. She created a rivalry where none needed to exist. Before leaving, Rebecca asked to speak with Linda alone. Linda, I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want to explain. When Emily died, James and the kids were broken. I tried to help, but failed. When you succeeded where I couldn't, I got jealous. I didn't try to take your place, Linda said gently. I just wanted to care for the kids. I see that now. You didn't just help the kids. You saved the whole family. Rebecca paused. James loves you, and for the first time in years, he's truly happy. The talk with Rebecca helped Linda clarify her feelings. If even her biggest critic supported their relationship, maybe there was hope. Her decision came unexpectedly during a normal afternoon. While helping Lily draw, the girl asked, "Ms. Linda, are you going to marry Dad?" Linda was caught off guard. "Why do you ask, sweetie?" "Because Zoe said you like Dad and Dad likes you. And when people like each other, they get married." Ethan and Noah, playing nearby, joined in. "If you marry Dad, will you be our real mom?" Ethan asked, "And will Zoe be our sister?" Noah added. Linda looked at their hopeful faces and realized a family she wanted for Zoe already existed. They just needed to make it official. "Would you like me to marry your dad?" she asked. "Yes," they shouted in unison. "Then let's see what he thinks," Linda smiled. That night, after the kids slept, Linda found James in his office. "James, can we talk?" "Always," he said, looking up from documents. "About your proposal a few weeks ago," she said. James froze. "Yes." "I accept," Linda said simply. James blinked, stunned. "You'll marry me?" "I'll marry you. I'll build a family with you and the kids. I'll build a life together." James stood, hugged her, and spun her around. "Linda, you've made me the happiest man alive." The official proposal came a week later at a family dinner. James enlisted Zoe to plan a surprise. During dessert, he stood for a toast. "I want to thank you for teaching me what family really means." He knelt beside Linda, pulling out a small box. "Linda Harper, will you marry me?" The kids erupted in cheers before she could answer. Lily clapped. Ethan shouted. She said yes, and Noah hugged them both. Zoe, filming on her phone, teared up seeing her mom's joy. "Yes." James Carter, "I'll marry you," Linda said, slipping on the ring. The next months were filled with wedding planning. James wanted a grand Miami affair, but Linda preferred something intimate. "James, I don't want a wedding to impress people. I want one that celebrates our family." They chose a small ceremony in the mansion's garden, their true home, with only close family and friends. Zoe helped Linda pick a simple, elegant dress reflecting her personality. The triplets joined in, choosing flowers, music, and writing their own vows for their new family. Rebecca, reconciled with the family, offered to plan the reception as her way of making amends. "Linda," she said while tasting cakes, "I'm truly happy for you. You brought life back to my family." "Thank you, Rebecca. I know it wasn't easy for you to accept this." "It wasn't, but therapy helped me see my biases were hurting people I love." Rebecca paused. "Do you forgive me for what I did?" Linda smiled. "Of course. We all make mistakes when we're scared of losing those we love." The wedding day arrived on a sunny spring afternoon. The garden was adorned with simple, elegant flowers, a small ceremony area, and dinner tables. Guests included Mrs. Betty, Mike, James's colleagues, the kids' teachers, Zoe's and Linda's friends, and Rebecca's family. The kids stole the show. Ethan carried the rings, Lily scattered petals, and Noah held a sign he made, "Welcome to our family, Mommy Linda." Zoe was her mom's maid of honor, wearing a dress she picked. During the ceremony, she held the triplets' hands, symbolizing their family's union. The vows were the heart of it. James spoke of how Linda saved him and his kids. Linda shared how she'd found a bigger family than she'd ever dreamed. But the kids' vows brought everyone to tears. Ethan promised to protect their new family. Lily vowed to be the best sister to Zoe and daughter to Linda. Noah, overcoming shyness, promised to never fear sharing his feelings. Zoe pledged to be the best big sister and help Linda care for family. When James and Linda were pronounced husband and wife, the 5 kids rushed to hug them, creating a moment of pure joy. The party lasted late, with kids playing in the garden and adults dancing. It was the simple, love-filled celebration Linda wanted. During the reception, James gave a final toast. 4 years ago, I thought I'd lost everything when Emily died. Today, I've gained more than I ever had, a wonderful wife, an amazing daughter, and the joy of being a dad again. Linda responded, 2 years ago, I was just a housekeeper, fighting to give my daughter a better life. Today, I'm a wife, mother to 4 incredible kids, and part of a family that loves me for me. Zoe spoke too. Thank you for teaching me family isn't just blood, it's love. I love you all. Ethan, the triplet spokesman, said, thanks for showing us we could be happy again after being sad. The night ended with everyone helping clean up, the kids crashing together in the living room, exhausted but happy. The years that followed brought normal family challenges, but endless joy. Zoe excelled in school, earning a full scholarship to study medicine at a top university. The triplets grew into balanced, happy kids, each with unique personalities but a strong bond. Ethan became a bookworm with a passion for architecture, inspired by his dad. Lily found a talent for music, learning guitar. Noah overcame his shyness, becoming a gifted storyteller. James balanced work and family, delegating to focus on what mattered. Linda kept nurturing the home and kids, but also studied education, formalizing her natural skills. Rebecca became a loving aunt, taking the kids on outings and bonding with Zoe through her teen years. The once cold mansion became a warm home filled with laughter and love. Mornings buzzed with breakfast table chatter about the day's plans. Nights were for family dinners, group homework, and bedtime stories. Weekends meant garden picnics, movie nights, or living room playtime, like that first afternoon James watched in secret. The transformation was complete. James went from a distant workaholic to a devoted dad and husband. Linda found not just financial stability, but the love and family she'd always dreamed of. Zoe gained siblings who adored her and a stepdad who respected her. The triplets found emotional stability and maternal love they needed to thrive. What began with a housekeeper quietly watching troubled kids ended 5 years later with a strong, loving, truly happy family. The mansion, once just an expensive house, became a true home, proving life's greatest riches can be bought, only grown with love, patience, and dedication. James and Linda often reflected on how fate brought them together. If Susan hadn't been a cruel nanny, if Rebecca hadn't tried to sabotage them, if the kids hadn't stood up for Linda that crucial day, they might never have found the love between them. But as Linda always told the kids when they asked about their tough past, sometimes bad things happen to lead us to the good. The key is never giving up on love. This family, forged by unlikely circumstances but bound by true love, was living proof that happy endings sometimes come in the most unexpected ways. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss the upcoming episodes filled with emotion, mystery, and surprising twists. Each video brings a new revelation that might change the way you see the world. Turn on the notification bell to get the videos as soon as they're released. You won't want to miss a single detail. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching the story from?